Well, Nick Sirianni finally confirmed he will be changing up the Eagles' offensive scheme going forward, but every Bird fan is wondering the same thing. What exactly does Sirianni do as the head coach of the Eagles? Also, Vic Fangio landed in Philadelphia today and is signing to become the new DC as we speak, but are players actually happy about his departure from Miami? And Howie Roseman admitted he was wrong and hinted at some major changes going forward. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Now, yesterday was one of those days for the Eagles that I'm completely torn on. Do I love some of what Sirianni and Howie Roseman said at their joint press conferences? Well, yes, but do I also hate some of the answers? Absolutely, especially from Sirianni. Do the Eagles still seem like somewhat of a mess while also not being a complete dumpster fire? I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments. One thing I'm really starting to come around to is this idea of Vic Fangio as the new defensive coordinator. Now hold up, before you go down to the comment section and say, Thomas, I hate the idea of Vic Fangio. What a terrible scheme. I can't stand this hiring. I'm not saying I love it. I'm just not saying I absolutely hate it like you might. First off, in case you're one of the people on my live show yesterday who was saying, well, he's not officially hired yet, Adam Schefter confirmed this morning that former Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio is traveling to Philadelphia to officially sign the contract to become the Eagles' next defensive coordinator per league sources. Eagles officially get their man. So it is official, like he is their guy. And regardless of how you and I feel about it, Philadelphia, they're extremely happy. This is the guy they've wanted at DC all along until Jonathan Gannon decided during the Super Bowl. And we got to realize he literally chose to leave Miami. He was still under contract in Miami, but wanted to come home to be around his family and coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, which Adam Schefter, by the way, confirmed all of that this morning on The Fanatic.
That, to me, dramatically helps the defense. He's, to me, one of the best defensive coordinators out there. And really, to me, that was the start of the downfall of last year, because if Vic had been in place, I think some of those things might have been preventable, avoided, limited, diminished, whatever you want to call it. So, to me, that's absolutely the right move. He's got children and his mother in the Pennsylvania area. It makes sense for everybody for him to come back, to be near his family, to run the Eagles defense. And I think he'll be a major boost to that organization.
But what about a scheme, Thomas? Like, what about the Vic Fangio scheme that we hear all over social media and all over the news? Is it good? Is it bad? Didn't they try to duplicate it with Sean Desai? Well, first off, yes, Fangio has a very specific 3-4 defensive front with a 2 high safety scheme on the back end, whose goal is to, quote, keep the offense guessing and rely on the playmakers on defense to make plays, primarily the 2 hybrid safeties. Both need to not only help cover the pass, but also support the run due to a lighter box and less blitzing. As such, they almost become akin to smaller linebackers, which is technically good news for a Philly team that doesn't have good safeties or linebackers at the moment. It means they'll probably have to go out and get some new ones this offseason. Okay, before we get back to today's show, my fiance and I, we're getting married on May 3rd, and I just booked our honeymoon. We're going to Europe, and with the sponsor of today's video, SurfShark, coming with us, we're going to have our entire catalog of Netflix shows, full web access, and also HBO Max TV shows as well. Now, SurfShark is a super awesome VPN. Comes in app form or also as a simple browser extension for your computer, and it'll let you stay safe whether you're watching my latest Eagle video on public Wi-Fi, or you just want help getting past those really pesky geo-blockers for content like Max when you're, say, in Europe on your honeymoon, like I'm going to be in Croatia, and you just want to relax after a long day and maybe Netflix and chill. Now, right now, I'm basically forcing my fiance to finish Game of Thrones because she started it and then she didn't want to finish it. By the time we get to our honeymoon, we're going to be on season 8, and as bad as it was for all you Game of Thrones lovers, I want to make sure we're able to watch it while we're in Europe, and if we didn't have SurfShark, it would not be possible. Now, of course, SurfShark is not just a VPN for watching Netflix while you're honeymooning in Europe. It's also a powerful antivirus, allows you to browse the web ad-free without a digital footprint, and my favorite part, it even generates a new online identity and a proxy email with their alternate ID tool. Now, viewers of my show, I guess you right now, can try SurfShark completely free for 3 months. They literally have a 3-month QR code that you scan, there it is, right down below me, or whenever you check out, use the promo code Mott, my last name, to go ahead and again, get 3 free months, all down below in the description box as well. Give it a try and stay safe on the web wherever you're browsing from. Now, the next logical question in terms of Fangio's scheme has been, has the modern NFL offensive coordinator figured it out? NFL Films expert Greg Cosell doesn't think so.
Solved is too strong a word. The league is cyclical, And I think what happens, and you can go back through history, is that things work, and then whatever side of the ball it is, those coaches come up with ways to attack it, and then the other coaches adjust. So it's not a matter of solving. I think because more and more teams play out of a quarter structure, which it was always Fangio's foundation, more and more teams have done that, is more and more offenses now have discovered ways in which to attack it. And so now it's a chess match. Now, and Vic Fangio is a very smart man, so now he's doing the same thing. He's thinking, okay, I see what teams are doing offensively, so now I have to respond as well. So it's not a matter of solving. Everything is tactically cyclical in the NFL, and there's really smart coaches.
Well, what about his defensive rankings? Honestly, they're not too bad. Like, look here. There's some pretty darn good top 10 rankings there over the course of the past couple of years. And over the past 12 years as a DC or head coach, he's produced 4 top 3 scoring defenses and 8 in the top 10. Again, I'm not saying he's perfect or that his scheme works 100% of the time, but there is something to hiring the actual architect of the scheme, the godfather of the Vic Fangio scheme, versus getting a no-name guy like Sean Desai who tries to duplicate it, right? It's like asking somebody other than Phil Jackson to run the triangle offense with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, where my concern lies is not necessarily with Fangio's overall scheme, it's his relationship with the players. I mean, listen to superstar agent Drew Rosenhaus explain that the Dolphins didn't really like him.
There were quite a few players on the team that didn't necessarily get along with Fangio. And so it wasn't a great relationship with many of the players. There were some guys that loved him, but there was quite a few that didn't. It definitely wasn't a unanimous positive relationship.
Throw in Jalen Ramsey liking this tweet about Fangio leaving the Dolphins yesterday, or their DB posting an IG story of himself kicking rocks right after Fangio's news dropped. Even Fangio himself has been known to call out his players in front of the media for their lack of overall production.
We have some really good talent at some places. In other places we've got to find the talent. So I think it's a good mix right now. Our good players have got to play really good for us to be good. And we got to find the other guys to fill in that play good in spite of their lack of playing time and experience.
But in the end, Philadelphia really wanted him. This was their guy. This is exactly who they've wanted for the past couple of years. They tried to duplicate it in Sean Desai. And I think that Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni's job future is now tied to the success of the defense in Vic Fangio. If it doesn't work out, you're for sure getting rid of Sirianni. And I think you got to give a little bit of pressure, feet to the fire for Howie Roseman. But if it does work out, it'll prove them right all along because this was who they wanted. Plus, you're getting an adult, former head coach. He's of the age where he's not just going to dip and leave for a new head coaching job. There's a lot to like here, even if you aren't thrilled with the name. Side note, by the way, if you're one of the 73% of my viewers who watch this show regularly but aren't subscribed, why don't you hit that red subscribe button down below? Help me get to 40K subs, and you can stay up to date on all the latest offseason news, which is going to get crazier and crazier as the weeks progress. Now, in terms of yesterday's actual joint press conference, there was a lot of the typical PC jargon that you got to sift through in order to find the gems. Like, for example, when asked about firing Brian Johnson, Sirianni basically just rambled.
About coming up with fresh ideas and doing some things different. And that's exactly where we are right now. And sometimes, Brian being, at that position, unfortunately.
Okay, cut that out. I mean, come on, I can't listen to him ramble forever. But one gem that he did go ahead and basically leak was that he confirmed that whoever the next offensive coordinator is, they will run that person's offense and not Nick Sirianni's screen pass to a wide receiver, not throw across the middle, absolute mess we saw this year.
We just need to bring some ideas in from the outside, right? And we need to bring a guy in that with new ideas that's not part of this family of coaches. I think that's an important thing. Or even if it is a family of the coaches that has been somewhere else, and then it could be any of that. And so that's important. That's important because that's important that you're making sure you always evolve, right? And we are blessed with time, and that college coaches don't have sometimes because they're recruiting, and we're blessed with how much tape we're able to watch, how much tape we're watching on prospects, and we see the other college tape and things like that. So the evolution will not just be of the things that this new coordinator will bring to the table as far as their scheme and things that we may not know a lot about, because it is easy to look out and say, oh, I like to do that, like to do that, but not know everything there is to know about it. And that's where you're bringing a coordinator in to bring those new ideas.
Now, that's a big deal. Like, all we heard this season was that Sirianni's actually in control, and he's actually telling Brian Johnson what plays to call, and that he doesn't like attacking the middle of the football field or running with the running backs or not using wide receivers to go ahead and run these ridiculous screens. Like, that's all we heard. And now if he's no longer running the offense and an OC is, you might have a similar scenario to when Shane Steichen took over the offense midway through the 2021 season, which resulted in the Eagles having an absolute killer 2022 offense in Jalen Hurts' MVP caliber year. But wait, so if Sirianni doesn't control the offense or the defense, what exactly does he do? Listen to his answer when pressed by Tim McManus of ESPN about this exact question yesterday.
If the offensive coordinator is going to be in charge of the offense and the defensive coordinator is going to be in charge of the defense, what is your role going to be?
The head coach of the football team.
What does that entail? How does it change?
Yeah, I guess it'd be this very similar to what's going on right now. Does that mean I'll sit more into defensive meetings at times? Maybe, right? Instead of always being in an offensive meeting, maybe I go to a defensive meeting here and there. But my job is to be the head coach of the team, not the head coach of the offense, not the head coach of the defense, not the head coach of the special teams, but be the head coach of the football team. And so that's building the culture. That's making sure the culture's, working, with our 5 core values, are taking every day at a time. Like, we're not coming up with new core values.
That's pretty funny. Like, I'm the head coach, okay, but what are you doing as the head coach? It's a legitimate question. I've seen that all over my comment section and all over Twitter. But I guess in Sirianni's defense, John Harbaugh doesn't call the offense or defense. I mean, Dan Campbell doesn't call offense or defense. There's plenty of head coaches in the NFL right now, Mike Tomlin, who doesn't actually call the offense or the defense. They're just the head coach. Now, time will tell if this is actually a good move for Philadelphia, and I would agree. I'd rather my head coach be an expert in one of 2 areas, more specifically the offense, but it's not like it's completely unprecedented that a head coach is not doing one of the 2 coordinator positions, or at least calling plays for either side of the football. Now, when it comes to Howie Roseman, he had a couple of good answers. Again, a lot of jargon, but he did emphasize that he needs to be a much better GM in 2024.
Ruben, when I think about the contributions I can make to help this team, I know that when I'm doing my best, and I have my best seasons, this team has a chance to have its best seasons. And so, I hold myself to a very high standard.
I think Howie's going to overcorrect in a big way this season. I think it's going to start on the defensive side of the football. Like, they have their defensive coordinator. Now they need to fill their laundry list of holes with actual good players, with people who are not terrible like James Bradbury, with people who can actually rush the passer and stop the run and play good linebacker and actually be a good, decent safety. And like Kevin Byard was this season, I think he's going to go crazy hard for the defense in both free agency and also with his 10 picks in the NFL draft this April. Now, the truth of the matter with all of this is we don't know. Anyone trying to tell you that, Fangio is going to be 100% the right hire or 100% the bad hire, they don't know. Anyone saying that, Sirianni no longer being in charge of the offense is a good thing or a bad thing, they don't know. Anyone saying that, you get a new offensive coordinator, he's going to fix everything, we don't know. It's all speculation. That's the beauty and also kind of the worst part of the NFL offseason, because you're going to have a lot of strong opinions on anything Philadelphia does, from myself, from you, from other content creators, from the national media, and no one really knows what's going on. I think you have to take what you are given with a grain of salt, go ahead and analyze it as best you can personally and come to your own conclusion, but understand that if I think Fangio's a good hire or you think he's a bad hire or vice versa, we won't know until they get on the football field and actually play some games, which is going to be 5 or 6 months from now. Now, personally, I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm just tired of being a pessimist the past couple of weeks, and I think the Philadelphia end of their season really got me in the dumps in terms of my view of the Eagles after being so high on them after the 2022 season. But I think a healthy level of optimism going into this offseason that they can correct the ship and get back to being, again, they won a lot of games last year, but a juggernaut football team that is actually scary to opposing teams and not a team that they think you just roll over in the wild card round of the postseason. Plenty more stuff happening next couple of days and weeks. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.